There, it's off.
Hold on, wait a minute.
So
We got-
you trying to tell us Bob's in the wrong spot?
Bob's in the wrong spot? Bob who?
I had.
Bob Lucas? I think because there's two chairs there.
Doug Brum's not
Doug
here.
and Leo are gone tonight.
Okay.
That's new.
We don't like
It's
to
not
see
connecting to
64
Facebook.
pages.
We
We like 24 pages.
Firewall stuff.
Just, you know.
DJ, where's my medal for winning the quiz? Oh, this is, I get like an award for your Kansas City. I mean, I ate more joking than picking on people. and like, it was. I'm just waiting for them, I think.
Nice.
A nice pen.
I'm
Courtesy.
starting my meeting late, guys.
Sorry.
Lower. You just share.
Ready?
I'm not really in a hurry.
We can't read these get logged on.
Yes, ma'am.
Share. You gotta share it.
There's a fine, they have to pay us all, right?
It says signing in, but it's not signing in.
We're not the only ones for
Yeah, they already did. It got me to the right spot, but it's now, it's.
We're not doing the thing today.
No,
It's okay, she's just practicing.
Oh, okay.
Ready?
Yeah, it's been doing it for 5 years.
We're ready.
So something.
Yes.
Well, good, Susie?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we're ready when you
I'm
are. Go
good.
ahead.
Okay. It's 3:02. I'm going to call to order the February 3rd, 2022 East County Public Works Board meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown,
Excuse?
Excuse.
Commissioner Seer,
Here,
Leo Evans,
Excuse?
Jennifer Hodges,
Here.
Commissioner Hughes,
Here.
Commissioner Laring,
Here.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Here.
Commissioner Nash,
Here.
Chair Pego,
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Okay, I will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
Some
I
support.
have a motion of support from Commissioner Wilkins and Commissioner Hughes. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of January 6th meeting.
So moved.
support.
Motion of support for Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion passes. At this time, we have time set aside for public comment. If there's anyone in the boardroom or online, you have 2 minutes to make a public comment on an agenda item. We ask that you state your name and where you live. Anybody online, nobody in the boardroom? Okay, I'm going to close public comment and move on to items for consideration. BPW 22/01-13, Matt Fair asking to move to authorize staff to bid the gas collection system expansion project.
So moved.
I have a motion of support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes. And that motion passes. Moving on to BPW 22/01-14, David Johnson asking to move to reclassify the position of Engineering Operations and Maintenance Manager position X92501 from pay grade NX-00362, $33.67 per hour to $42.43 per hour to operations supervisor with pay grade NX-00345 to $33.25 per hour to $41.72 per hour effective February 23rd, 2022.
So moved.
Or have a motion and support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do.
DJ, do you want to step up?
Yeah, please.
Commissioner Moore?
I had a couple. We've had a lot of reclassifications, and I'm just wondering if there's a grand scheme of realigning your staff. Is that what's going on?
DJ, Dave Johnson, Muskegon County Resource Recovery Center. This position, this is a current position that we were taking away the engineering responsibilities. This person will be supervising 6 people, and he or she will also be assisting the project manager engineer.
Okay, you lost me. My question was, there's been a lot of changes that we've had come before us in job descriptions, jobs, pay, and that sort of thing. And I've agreed with all of them. You've had good logic, but when you start seeing a lot of changes, you wonder if there's a grand plan or if there's a thought for the whole organization to realign your staff and make a bunch of changes rather than piecemeal. And maybe that's the only way you can deal with it. That's my first question. And then the second is, I was going to have to, if this is an existing position and we're taking away pay because they're not engineering anymore, and the pay change isn't that different, but it sounds like they're going to do different things.
They're going to do different things. Again, they will have the engineering responsibilities. Your question about, is it part of a grand scheme? I'm not sure.
I don't know, I like the word scheme, but plan. So I mean, scheme like it was something, but you know, a plan like, well, if we're changing so much, who's got what responsibilities? At some point you should have it, step back and go, well, we've made these changes and we know we've got a series of 6 others that should happen because we get one once, then we get another one, then we get another one. You see what I mean? Is there an overall plan of looking at your staff and realigning responsibilities, or we're just doing it as we go?
I would say this was part of a plan when we were making several changes, one of which was to take the maintenance supervisor and to split them into 2, and then also adding the engineering project manager, and then this position as supervisory and yet assisting the engineer project manager.
So they're interrelated, is it?
Yes, and those thoughts all came about kind of at the same time in planning. So I guess it was part of a plan. How grand it was, well,
Okay.
Thank you.
you're very welcome.
DJ,
Commissioner Hughes?
you know, I kind of wondered the same thing. It looked like you were going to take a manager position and make him a supervisor, which to me is higher, and if it's not, but you're taking money away.
Yes, this person used to have some engineering functions, obviously from the title engineering operations and maintenance supervisor. Those are going to the engineer project manager. So in that sense, the less required of the person, still some supervisory role.
Was I guess I want to ask, is the position that he's giving up now, is that a big position?
This would be a new hire. Because the person that's in it now will be done in February.
Okay, the reason I ask this because if you think that by taking away part of what you're hiring somebody else for it, you're not taking away very much if you're going to be hiring somebody else to replace.
Can you say that one more time?
No.
I think I know where you're going.
But
though. It's like,
yeah,
that
I mean, it
much
seems
less
like you're
responsibility.
only a few cents difference, you know, in what you're going to pay him. But if you're planning on hiring somebody else to take part of that job, you didn't leave a whole lot of room for money to hire out of this job. That make any sense?
I think so. Yeah. The engineer project manager
Mhm.
does have a higher pay grade.
Okay,
So that position, you know, the board already voted on, and
Okay.
that's already going to be added to the budget. So this is an existing position already on the books, in which the person will be retiring on August 22nd, hence the effective date February 22nd, hence February 23rd. And that one, we are going to lower just a little bit because, again, the responsibilities have changed. But still, the person supervising 6 people.
yeah.
Question?
Are you,
I'm done.
you can continue.
That's
Commissioner
okay.
Moore?
Did that person always supervise 6 people or that's new duties? Because I don't know if this is where Ms. Hughes was going, but if someone gets less responsibility, the pay range isn't that much less. So the person now who has a position, did they supervise 6 people? Because for me, that's an argument to keep the salary level pretty high. Even though they're not doing engineering, they're supervising more people. But if we're taking away engineering, which is a big chunk of the job, we're not taking away much salary. And I know you don't want to take salary for people. If this is a new person, then it's kind of a clean slate. What should they be paid? But my base question is, did the old position always supervise 6 people?
The old position supervised 6 people also. But as far as recruiting, I didn't want to lower this too much. It's different recruiting now. I found it, believe me, many struggles and trials trying to hire some new people. And with the benefits changing from what they were, with defined benefit pension, it is more difficult to recruit people. So I hesitate to lower it too much. This is comparable to what we pay other people who have supervisory roles. You're welcome.
Any other?
Kim, did you have a question?
Okay, the engineering duties previously associated with this position are being removed. So how long has this individual been with you?
Ages and ages.
Ages and ages for everyone.
Yes. I don't know when he started. He was there before I was there.
Okay, so you're just changing him from an engineering to an assistant to the project manager.
Yes, and it won't affect the person currently in this position. It won't take into effect until he retires. So I'm not taking away pay from an existing employee
Till who retires?
till the person currently in this position retires.
Oh, okay, which will be when? You said?
February 22nd.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm. Which is why,
The new range is a whole new person, right?
come again?
The
please?
new range is a whole new person.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. That's absolutely right.
Commissioner Nash?
So you're posting this position?
Once the board approves, yes, I'll be posting the position once it's approved.
Supervisor Hodges?
Can I just, maybe this will help you.
Okay,
Commissioners
thank
here.
you.
Yes. Correct me, stop me when I'm wrong, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the name of the person retired, this person?
Vivek.
Vivek? Okay,
Mhm.
so Vivek is currently the engineering operations and maintenance manager, correct?
Correct.
Vivek is retiring February 23rd.
Second.
Second, okay. So February 22nd, you no longer want that engineering operations and maintenance manager position to exist. You now want the new person you're going to hire for the Resource Recovery Center to replace Vivek's seat will be the operations supervisor with this new pay grade.
Yes.
Does that help you?
I couldn't stop
Yes.
you, but it's
Okay.
all correct.
Yeah, that's.
All right.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I'm good.
No? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes,
And Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, moving on to BPW 22/01-15. David Johnson asking to move to authorize the Resource Recovery Center sale of 2 used trucks in accordance with the county surplus disposal policy and procedure.
Support.
We have a motion and support from Commissioner Wilkins and Commissioner Hughes. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have. a
Commissioner
comment.
Hughes?
You know, as high as it is right now to buy vehicles, I wonder if we'd be better off to try and sell it outright. Or if that's just too much work.
DJ?
They would be auctioned. However, since this went on, there's been some internal discussion where the lab still wants to hang on to this
Ah,
because it's 4-wheel drive. So we're gonna get permission to sell it. But we might
but you might.
end up hanging on
Okay.
to it, and it might result in, anyway,
Okay,
that's been discussed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? 15, okay, let's for a roll call vote, please.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Larry.
Yes.
And Chair Pegel.
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, moving on to BPW 22/01-16, Dave Johnson asking to move to authorize Prine and Newhoff to proceed with the pre-engineering soil study needed to determine the necessary design features of the A to C force main at a cost not to exceed $58,500. I think that's
So
what it's
moved.
supposed to have, but it's a typo. Is that correct, Tina?
Support.
Is that supposed to be 58,000? There's a period, a decimal instead of a comma, okay. Can we notate that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I had a motion from Commissioner Nash, I believe, was it? And support from Commissioner Wilkins, okay. So we have a motion support from Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Wilkins. Are there any questions, comments, or
I have
concerns?
a question.
Commissioner Hughes?
DJ, is that, did we get bids on that?
We did not get bids on that because Prine Newhoff is our contracted provider of engineering services. So with Prine Newhoff as the provider of the services, when we get budgeted projects, they will give us a quote for the engineering, and we bring those to the board.
But we don't know if those are high quotes or low quotes, right? That's what my concern is. Since they pretty much know they're gonna get the job, do they charge us more? Or is it-
I don't believe Prine Newhoff charges us more. No, Prine Newhoff, I've talked with Matt, visited with him, and just comparing them with some of the things that he's dealt with, he thinks that the quotes are very reasonable. So there's a comparison there to other engineering firms.
Thank you.
Comment?
Yes, Commissioner Moore?
I agree with when you kind of have this open contract, you want to do a check, but as long as you're checking, spot checking and keeping them honest. I don't have a problem with that. That's good to hear.
Supervisor Hodges?
I'm just gonna be a pain in the butt today.
Right.
Does your contract, this is more curiosity, does your contract with Prine and Newhoff prevent you from going out for other bids on certain projects? You have that right?
I believe that might be a breach of contract.
Just curious. Thank you.
Commissioner Seer?
Because didn't we go we've been through this with several engineering firms in the past, I think, and kind of selected them as the ones. And wrote a contract for them and said that. As you did now.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner
Just
Moore?
one final. I understand, and I've said this before, that Prine Newhoff knows the wastewater and they've got a specialty, and that makes sense. But I'll use the example of the road that was paved, Swanson, was it? And I had asked at the time, why can't we go out for a bid with that? They get everything that comes out of your camp, basically. And I don't know that that's a good practice, but it looks like we're stuck. Because I get that they need to keep an eye on wastewater. I don't get that they get the contract to do a road.
Well, as civil engineers, actually roads are one of their specialties also.
Most civil engineers can do the roads, and that's where I thought maybe we could save money, but not to bring that up again, but it's like, I hope we watch that, because when someone knows they have a shoe in, no matter how good, and what kind of integrity they have when they know they have to shoe in, they know they're guaranteed all that work. We should be checking the books. And it sounds like you are spot checking, just to make sure things don't get out of hand. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Seer, do you guys have something? No? Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hughes,
No,
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, and moving on to BPW 22/01-17, David Johnson asking to move to authorize the procurement office to solicit bids for the purchase of lubricants and other fleet maintenance chemicals to be used by the Resource Recovery Center.
so moved. Support.
I have a motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes,
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, moving on to BPW 22/01-18, David Johnson asking to move to authorize Grand River Construction to put in an office for the Resource Recovery Center Operations Maintenance Supervisor at a cost of $32,940 and to authorize the amending of the RR Resource Recovery Center fiscal year 2022 capital budget accordingly.
Question?
I need a motion and a second first.
Sorry. Move to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hughes. Do we have a
Support.
support and a support from Commissioner Nash? Now you can ask your question.
Thank you, sorry. Didn't mean to step out of turn. Is this a new, this is a new position, or is this one of the new positions?
This is one of the new positions. And originally
So
we
you don't have
had,
a home for this person right now?
we've got a makeshift office right now. We'd like to make it a permanent office. But we had one person at one time over both fleet maintenance and operations maintenance. And when he went on to other things, we split that into two positions. So we didn't have a need for that office prior to that, but now we do.
Where is this office going to be constructed?
It's going to be in the new operations maintenance addition building.
I haven't.
Commissioner Hughes?
Did you get bids on this?
Yes, ma'am. They're included in the package.
Okay, I didn't see it. Thank you.
Commissioner Seer?
DJ, have you ever quoted implant office systems in a situation like this? Have you ever used somebody besides a stick contractor?
Can you say, you used a term right at first, of what kind of,
An implant office.
and that
It's where
is,
it's manufactured, sent out to your facility and then installed.
yes, in fact, we have done that, and we've done that recently in the
Okay.
administration building. This one, we wanted a little soundproof walls
Okay,
and things, so we have used those.
okay.
And,
So you're familiar with it. Okay.
yes.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Commissioner Coleman?
Just out of
Chair Coleman?
curiosity, who was the maker of that motion?
That was, oh, who wrote your motion?
No.
I thought I moved, but then somebody
I-
else.
and I know I did.
One moment. Are you asking who wrote the motion?
No, I mean, because when you referenced Commissioner Hughes making the motion, but
I didn't make the motion.
No,
Brenda did.
Commissioner Moore
Yeah.
made that motion, and it was Commissioner Nash that
okay,
seconded
I
it.
misunderstood.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes,
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Moving on to BPW 22/01-19, David Johnson asking to move to authorize the Resource Recovery Center to utilize the services of Michigan registered forester Randy Kuipers to execute Clear Forest and Wildlife Management Plan for an additional 5 years with a 14% commission on timber sales beginning March 16th, 2022.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion support from Commissioner Wilkins and Commissioner Nash. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah. Did you get bids on this, DJ?
No, ma'am, we did not get bid. This is an extension of an existing contract.
Did he give us options to renew, or you just asking me to renew?
We are asking him to renew. When this was brought to the board the first time, it was said that at the end of his current term, we would come back and ask for an extension. It's that time, and so we're asking for an extension.
Is this at the same price he bid us before?
Exactly the same price.
I guess my concern is that I don't like the way he manages it. I don't like the way he just cuts down trees and leaves it. You know, and it looks terrible. He doesn't clean them up. I mean, I just think it should look better.
Well, I appreciate that. I can tell you the rationale behind it. When we say it's actually the standard practice, but it's also a conservation effort to improve habitat for wildlife, to leave the treetops there. And so this is part of our forest management plan, and it's part of our Wildlife Habitat Council habitat improvement plan as well. And that is why we do that.
The problem is we've got ash borer out there in some different areas, and when we cut the tree down and we don't take those trees out of there, the ash borers still stay and just move on to trees that aren't dead yet.
I don't think there are any ash trees that are being harvested at all.
That's my problem. If they're not full of ash borer, you need to get them out of there.
Once they're done, the ash borers.
I know, that's what I said too. We need to be.
No.
No, Commissioner Hughes, are you?
I'm done.
Are you
No, I'm good. I'm
Commissioner
good.
Moore, go ahead.
Commissioner Stewart, was your hand up? I didn't want to jump in front of you. Okay. I have a couple questions, and I think you answered one. We're practicing forestry for wildlife as well, not just forestry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so I felt a little sheepish putting this, this is how much money we make, because our goal is not to make a killing
Yeah,
on
because
timber.
you do it
Or-
differently if it's just forestry or just wildlife. And then I wondered if the consultant provided the plan for free. Is that part of his commission? Because the commission, and I don't know this, but Dallas used to work for the conservation district, and I asked him about commissions, and 14 is a little on the high side. But the comment was, if he's doing the plan and that's part of it, then that's reasonable. But if he's being paid for the plan and getting 14% commission to boot, that we might want to look at that.
All right, he did, when we had the plan developed, again, this is part of our Wildlife Habitat Council certification.
Right.
We got 3 quotes from foresters to develop the plan.
What we paid for the
And,
plan,
and Randy is the one that won the quote, so it was paid for.
so we paid him for the plan,
Yes.
plus he's getting 14% commission.
Well, then we went out for bids to find a forester. And we ended up getting one bid, but that forester from someone, I believe, on the other side of the state. And they did not, they had a completely different vision for what we wanted to do. They were far more into planting wildflowers. They wanted to plant more lupins and things like that. And we asked, Randy, how come he didn't bid on it? Because we thought maybe he would bid. And it was rather complicated. I hate to say it, but for the foresters in our area, the purchasing IFBs, they were complicated, and it scared every local person away.
Did we
So,
make them complicated, or that's just what they do around here?
well, I think they were complicated for foresters. I think for, contractors, like Chemical Woods and Jackson.
I
Murphy,
understand
it's
that,
not
because if
complicated
you're
for them.
managing a stand for hardwoods, you're doing something that's pretty straightforward, ABC. if you're managing for wildlife, you're doing a little this, a little this, so I get that. So my last comment was debris on the ground after a forestry operation is a good thing. It's cover, it provides hiding places, provides nesting places. It might not look good, but it's a good practice. That's a good thing.
Commissioner Nash?
I just wanted to ask, how long was the previous contract?
5 years. And our forestry management plan is a long-term goal. And, more than what can be accomplished in 5 years.
What was his previous commission?
Exactly the same as what the renewal would be. That has not changed.
Chair Skolnick?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Okay, so this Randy Kuipers, he doesn't cut the trees down.
No, he does not. He marks the trees and he has the authority to get the bids. And then I take those bids, bring them back to the board and recommend the low bid or actually, in this case, the high bid to the Board of Commissioners and you all vote on those bids.
And then does Mr. Kuipers go there to make sure that they did what they were supposed to do?
I'm in a little trouble here and there.
No, I'm just wondering if does Mr. Kuipers go in and make sure they didn't cut extra trees down or did what they
He
said? they were gonna
manages
do?
that, yes. And of course, the trees are marked, so there is absolutely no excuse for them to do that. And so, yes, he would look over the work.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
No.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, moving on to BPW 22/01-20, David Johnson asking to move to approve the first of two possible one-year extensions of the contract with RS Technical for flow meter calibration services at $31,080 per year and flow meter repair services at $125 per hour.
So moved.
I have a motion of support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Moving on to BPW. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner
There
Spalding.
was something I was going to ask. It
Sure.
didn't affect my vote. I'm just curious, when they calibrate those meters, how do they do that? Do they remove them or do they do it on, I mean, they're big meters, aren't they?
They do not remove them, but I have not witnessed the calibrating. So, but I know they don't remove them.
These are the meters that measure, for example, the flow going into the wastewater system for the city.
Exactly. And because they are meters that we are using to build the municipalities, we have them checked quarterly. for accuracy.
I would assume they're pretty big. I don't ever seen one.
Some of them are big. It depends on how big the pipeline is and so on.
All right, I'll take.
I think Chair Spalding needs an invitation next time you have someone out to do that.
That's a good idea.
You want to follow the gentleman around? This next one is in the winter, so you probably want to skip. So
I want to go down into the meter pits where they do the.
you don't want to do that yet.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes, we want to let him.
Commissioner Nash has a question.
I was wondering, EJ, on following up on Commissioner Skolnick, is it possible to give us a report on those meters to let us know when they're calibrated, whether there are certain meters that were significantly off, things of that sort?
We do get a report from him each time, and I could forward that to you.
That'd
Thank
be
you,
great.
DJ. Commissioner Moore?
That probably goes to the users committee, right?
Actually, they've never asked for it, but it's always available if anybody did ask for it.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? for that? Okay, moving on to BPW 22/01-21, David Johnson asking to move to approve the sheriff department lease of 7,031 square feet of space in the Resource Recovery Center Zelenka building for cold storage at the rate of $500 per month.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and support from Commissioner Moore and Commissioner Nash. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have a question.
Commissioner Hughes?
Dave, is that, the whole building?
No, it's not. Have you been, if you've ever been in that building,
Lots of times.
the garage doors, it's that
Yep.
large garage area. Right, there's a few rooms in the periphery that are not included.
Okay, now it says cold storage.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, that's what it means, Nicole. Because I was,
Oh, yes, it's
I
not
was-
refrigerated.
okay, that's what I
storage,
was
except in
thinking.
the
You're gonna
winter.
put something in there that we're gonna keep cold? Okay, I got
That's
it
where
now.
the deer go when
Okay.
they're taken off the property.
Got it.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Sayre?
Do you have any idea what is going to be stored in there?
There's some boats, snowmobile. Actually, I've got the Steve Sheriff right here. He might have a better list, but
Good afternoon, everybody. Michael Flynn, County Sheriff. I don't have the complete list right now, but all of our summer, our advanced teen driving program is in there. That consists of 3 cars. We have a trailer, it's just filled with traffic cones that we use for our precision driving program that we do from there too. All of our boats, basically the summer programs that we have out there. There is available space right now. I actually had a phone call from Public Health looking for space department trailer. But I think they were looking for heated storage. So I didn't hear that.
Is this equipment that's going to be moving from the fairgrounds?
Yeah, so what we were able to, yes, a great question. We were from the fairgrounds and the stuff that was at emergency services that's been sitting on site, we were able to incorporate those to that location.
Any other questions, comments, or concern? Commissioner Larry?
DJ, you said that was cold storage, but if I recall, that building is equipped with infrared heat, including those truck bays. So it's not necessarily, you might be using it for cold storage, but that is an insulated, mechanically capable building of being heated. Correct?
I don't know if there's.
There's just no
infrared
propane tank or gas out there, so I did see the infrared heating system in there.
Okay. If you saw it, then we'll say yes. It has the possibility.
Commissioner Moore?
There's a building out in Laketon that actually my office used to have part of, and we just didn't need it. I didn't want to pay the rent. Can the things that the sheriff's department have there go to the old Zelenka storage? And the reason I asked that is I remember when we had that building, I thought, this is like a viable storefront. There's a auto repair next door, and we're kind of taking that out of the mix for Evanston Township. So I don't know.
Facilities is using that right now. Matt can tell you what's in it.
Oh, okay. That as long as it's useful, but if it's just sitting there almost all empty, I was thinking it might be a business opportunity for
All
someone.
full
Oh, okay.
facilities.
Nature needs a vacuum.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Larry,
No,
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Chair Pego.
No, and that motion passes. And moving on to BPW 22/01-21, David Johnson asking to move to approve the sheriff department's Oh, whoops, I just did that one, sorry.
Yes, you did.
BPW 22/01-22, move to authorize the solicitation of bids for the sale of alfalfa in fields 9, 11, 15, 15A, 24, 28, 32, and 36 at the Resource Recovery Center.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion support from Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Hughes. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I will ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Water Resources Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
and Chair Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, there are informational items included in your packet. You can, read those at your leisure if you have not already read them. Is there any unfinished business to come before the board? Any unfinished business? Okay, no unfinished business. Is there any new business to come before the board? No new business? Any public comment? DJ, yes.
I told the board I would let them know when any club was having a big activity in the Mosquito Creek Trails, operated by BIMBA, the Michigan's Edge Mountain Biking Association. They're going to have a very exciting event, in my opinion, on August 20th. It's the Brainy Day Trail Run. And you might have heard of that. It happens annually, but it's been happening in Unica in Ottawa County for some years. It's actually a fundraising event to raise money for hydrocephalus, water in the brain affecting infants. And they want to have it at the Mosquito Creek Trails. And so that will involve some hundreds of people and a very exciting opportunity, I think, for Mosquito County. So I don't know, Bob Wilkins might have more to add or more details here. He's been working closely with NIMBA on this, planning this event.
Bob Lukens, Community Development Director. Yes, it's a big event coming in August 20th. I talked to some of our hotels and they do not have any big events happening that weekend, so it's perfect. We're expecting 500, I think they said,
something along those lines, yeah,
for this first year, and pending a successful event, which I'm sure they will have, they plan to come back and grow the event. So we're excited about it.
Okay, thank you. Question? Yes.
How many
Commissioner Moore?
acres, thank you. How many acres do we have devoted to that? Or how long is the track?
That's when I will have to get back with you. I don't have the numbers.
No, I mean, you don't have to do that. I'm just curious.
I'd be
Something
happy to do
500
that.
people, or they must send them off in groups if it's a race or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how they will plan it, but
They have their own website.
Well, my concern is that we could outgrow the site. They just got to manage it carefully. If you got that many people ramming around on mountain bikes.
this will be a trail run. So
Oh, it's a run.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought it was trail run.
so it's a very popular mountain biking trail. And if you haven't been
Oh,
there,
one of
they're
our
absolutely
consultants
beautiful.
found
I
it
love
and
that.
yeah, they love it. And they were bringing a bunch of people from Grand Rapids all the time. It's really taken off.
Okay, any other public comments? I don't see anybody online. Am I missing anybody? Anyone? More in boardroom? Any final board comments? Commissioner Kolnick?
Madam Chair, I don't know if Matt or anybody can take in the informational part of our package, there's more information on the water project going underneath the channel. Like every time I see this, there's something new, like there's cross block things. I don't want to talk about. I mean, this thing
Absolutely.
This thing is super cool. If you haven't seen it.
So what a thrust block is, I'm going to bore you for just a moment. There's water pipes, sewer pipes that are under pressure have what we call, say, 50 pounds per square inch. But that's not just 50 pounds of pressure, it's 50 pounds per square inch. So if we have a pipe that goes and just stops, there's 50 pounds per square inch on every square inch of that plug. So if there's 200 square inches, you do the math, the total force is tremendous, 20, 30,000 pounds of total force. And my math isn't perfect here. So you have to back that up with concrete up against virgin soil that can handle that force. Now, in these cases, we don't have any dead end plugs, but we have like 45 bends. We have a pipe that does like a 90-degree bend. There's force pushing out against that pipe. And there's more total force depending on the PSI and the total square inch surface area. So we have to put in thrust blocks to overcome that force. It doesn't blow the pipe apart. You know, right when we first came out of the plant, we had a term. And Steve not designed and placed a very, very large thrust block to overcome that force. That elbow would have blown off and taken out the beach. So that's what those thrust blocks do. The amount of force is tremendous, especially when you consider how many total square inches. When people think PSI 50, that's no big deal. But when there's many square inches of surface area that water is acting again to multiply that by 50 PSI. And the pressure forces are tremendous.
Is that the Pure Marquette side?
Which page are you on, Commissioner?
Page 26, but it's at the back. There's a picture, there's some color photos at the back. It says, mine says page 26 to 64.
26 to 64? It's like, if you see that, the top right picture, there's piping going in and out of that vault. Where there is a bend, there'll be thrust blocks or some sort of thrust blocking. We can tie things back as well.
Right, that meter vault, Jackson work he was is doing the connection to the actual water system. So did they pour that meter vault?
I believe that was precast and set in place.
Okay, so that's where the actual meter goes.
Yeah, there'll be a meter inside of that.
Meter that we're having calibrated everything.
So I can explain that process to you. Probably not now. You have another board meeting coming. We can explain how each different type of meter is tested and calibrated.
All right, and just one other thing, not that it's a big deal to anybody. To me, but, I went down there one day and took pictures with the county engineer, Steve Fink, and wrote about it on my Facebook page, and I've written about it, I think, 3 times now. And hundreds of people that were interested in it. I mean, it was like people knew something was going on, and they didn't know what. And it was noisy down there a little bit. The neighbors, once they found out what was going on, it was going to end. They were happy about that, but the pipe actually came through almost the day before Christmas, I think. And they, in order to get the pipe through, to pull it through, they had to work continuously, couldn't stop. So I think they worked 32 hours straight to get that pipe through.
Yes, they did.
And I was really impressed because these guys they've been living here for months. They're from Wisconsin.
From all over, some Texas. I think the firm is out of Wisconsin. Steve, I don't know if he's online, could better answer those questions, but yeah, you're right. They wanted to get home for Christmas, and so they worked straight. You have to work straight through, as Steve had pointed out. Once you start pulling, you cannot stop. You got to continue, you got to go.
And another interesting thing, they rented an entire motel on the north side. They didn't rent like a fancy motel, but one that was closed in the winter. So the crew could live there. Yeah, this was expensive. But,
Matt, we should invite Bob to one of our water policy.
I
was just gonna.
Jennifer's the
You
chair.
know all the
You
details.
know all the
Yeah.
details if you went to a water policy.
Join us.
board.
the first Wednesday of
I could probably be the county engineer.
Yeah, right.
Any other final board comments? Any final board comments? No? Okay, and we are adjourned at 3:49.
You need a small break. We'll step right into this.
No, we're right.
My actual husband, my ex-husband.
Oh, yeah.
Well,